All right, so let's get our coronavirus update. All the numbers are from Johns Hopkins as of 5:30 a.m. Central Time. Total confirmed cases worldwide, 392,000. That's up about 50,000 from yesterday. Total confirmed deaths worldwide are up 3,000. Total confirmed recovered is itself. All 195 countries on Earth have confirmed cases. The only place in the world you can go is hanging with the penguins in Antarctica. No confirmed cases there. 5% of active cases worldwide are considered serious, requiring hospitalization. That's steady 5%. Yesterday, it was at 5%, but it was down in February from 19%. I want to make a note here. 13% of the confirmed cases in America do currently require hospitalization, but that number is expected to drop toward the international average as more people are diagnosed through the testing. The U.S. now has 46,168 confirmed cases and 582 deaths. We are up almost 10,000 confirmed cases and about 130 deaths in the last 24 hours. The U.S. has 295 officially recovered against the 582 official deaths. So somehow or another, yesterday that it wasn't 1997 anymore and decided to get some internet into my recreation room. That's a quote. In my recreation. He still has a rec room? I haven't seen one of those since the Brady Bunch went off the air. Anyway, he is making his teleconferencing in his rec room on this new high-speed internet that the kids are all crazy about. So he's going to make regular broadcasts combating coronavirus. He made yesterday's from his home in Delaware, and it did not go well at all. Do we have a little clip of that? Here he is. The teleprompter broke down, and he did not know what to do.
I'm glad the president has finally activated the National Guard. Now we need the armed forces and the National Guard to help with hospital capacity, supplies, and logistics. We need to activate the Reserve Corps of doctors and nurses and beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act.
Wow. Okay. So that was his press conference. Comforting. Wish he was in charge right now. But he says, now we got to use the military. Well, yesterday, 1,000-strong military unit arrived at the Javits Center in New York City. Well, yeah, but we need the military to start building hospitals. Well, that's exactly what they were doing, turning the Javits Convention Center into a 1,000-bed emergency hospital. It'll be the first of 4 emergency hospitals in New York State. They should be open within 7 days. Dozens of National Guard troops have arrived at the Jacob Javits Center in Manhattan Monday morning. President Trump approved Governor Cuomo's plans to set up the beds in the 1.3 million square foot convention center on Sunday night. FEMA will oversee the facility as well as the staff and stock the center. Is there no more free travel in the U.S.? Florida's Governor DeSantis is ordering all inbound travelers arriving from New York or New Jersey into a mandatory 14-day quarantine per an executive order that he signed yesterday. DeSantis said in an address that more than 100 such flights arrive daily into the state. He believes each contains at least one person infected with the new coronavirus. He said he's been in contact with federal officials about curtailing such flights, but he has not yet received a response. He said people will be screened when they arrived and told they must self-quarantine. He said those travelers will not be allowed to stay with family or friends because that is the one way the virus is spread. He didn't say specifically how self-quarantine is going to be enforced. He said it may actually, I'm quoting, be a criminal offense if you violate the quarantine order. Florida law says it's a second-degree misdemeanor to violate a quarantine order that could result in a 60-day jail sentence. Notice he didn't have a problem when all of the kids were on the beaches for spring break. That was an obscene scene. at the time, and all the kids were like, "Oh, duh, we're not going to get it. It's fine." They're all now testing positive for it. New video from Spain shows on the floor in the hallways just waiting for a bed. Videos appear to show dozens of patients, some covered in sheets, most wearing surgical masks, laying on the floor in hospital hallways as they await for some bed to somehow or another become available. It's one of the largest hospitals in Madrid. Spain had 385 deaths and more than 4,500 new cases diagnosed just yesterday. It has more than 850 infected persons for every 1 million citizens. That's the third highest in the world after Italy and Switzerland. But perhaps echoing Spain's rapidly outgrowing outbreak, the Big Easy now is being criticized for not shutting down Mardi Gras celebrations and parades and parties over the warnings of local and national health officials against those large gatherings, which came as early as February 8th in the U.S. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards says his state now has the fastest growing cases of COVID-19 in the world. Citing statistics, the Louisiana Lafayette study, Edwards said the growth rate of the state is headed for a steep upward trajectory similar to what Spain and Italy have experienced. He said Louisiana has the third highest number of cases per capita in the U.S., behind New York and Washington, respectively, but the rate of growth per capita exceeds any single hotspot in the world. You know, if it was gonna break out, I mean, you would think Vegas or New Orleans. I mean, there's something in the water down in New Orleans. Edwards announced a stay-at-home ban for his state that will come into effect on Monday at 5 p.m., excluding citizens leaving home for essential services. There's no word on whether the state's 1,200 drive-through margarita stands are exempt from the order, but I think anything that limits alcohol at this time is not a good thing. Nobel Prize winner doom and gloom forecasts are likely overdone. This one comes from Dr. Michael Levitt, who is credited for correctly calling early that China would get the worst of its devastating outbreak long before many other health experts predicted they would. On January 31st, China had 46 new deaths compared with 42 the day before, which Levitt recognized as growth. This suggests the rate of increase in the number of deaths will slow down even more over the next week. Levitt won the 2013 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Yeah, but they give those away like candy now. And he ultimately nailed the call. Listen to this. I mean, you want a prediction that comes right? In mid-February, he said there would be a mid-February peak with a total tally of 80,000 cases and 3,250 deaths. As of March 16th, China had counted a total of 80,298 deaths, so close without going over. And he said there would be 3,250. There are 3,245 deaths.
The
in a country of almost 1.4 billion.
Yeah, 80,000 was the total cases, right? You said deaths. It was 80,000
total cases. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, sorry. 80,000 cases. He said there would be 80,000. They had 80,298. And he said there'd be 3,250 on deaths. There's 3,245. I mean, that guy, can we talk to him? I mean, I would like to.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Talk to him.
And he's optimistic, too, which is pretty rare these days from the experts.
Yeah, and maybe this is a guy we should listen to. Maybe this is just a guy that we should listen to. Now, we said we would never go for it here in America, but we are. What was the thing that you thought was just so disturbing that they did, Stu, in China?
Well, they were...
Besides welding people in.
Yeah, welding people into apartments came to mind right away.
There was something they were doing that we all said we'd never put up with this.
The massive surveillance state that they constructed around pretty much everyone there, to the point where they were I mean, they were giving reporters QR codes to have to scan to every building they were going into so that they could be tracked. They were being tracked by drones. They were being surveilled in every part of their internet access. Not to mention a million people or so they threw in a camp, which is a totally unrelated incident, but also problematic.
So the Chula Vista Police Department in California recently doubled its fleet of drones, purchasing 2 of the machines from a Chinese company called DJI. The police department told the Financial Times that they would be outfitted with night vision cameras. We have not traditionally mounted speakers to our drones, but if we need to cover a large area to get an announcement out, and if there's a crowd somewhere that we need to disperse, we could do it without getting police officers involved. The outbreak has changed my view of expanding the program. I think we need to expand it as rapidly as I can, said the captain. U.S. officials have warned about the threat of Chinese-made drones, that they could pose a threat to the United States. The company that the police department is purchasing from, DJI, is the world's largest player in the civilian drone industry. But DJI is based in Canada. Spencer Gore, the chief executive of the U.S.-based drone company Impossible Aerospace, said he is working like crazy to help equip other law enforcement drones. We just can't keep up with the orders from law enforcement agencies and health departments. So how do we feel about that one? How are we feeling about drones and our police department using drones?
Suboptimal would be the first thing that came to mind. Not the optimal, that optimal. That is, I mean, I guess like you could make the argument in a case of, where everyone's supposed to stay away from each other to break up a crowd. If it floats over with a speaker, it's maybe not that bad. I mean, I know they've done that in crowd breakup situations before, but it sends a pretty creepy message. And
yeah,
not in love with it. Not in love with it.
Yeah. Remember, Stu, we were at CNN and we said that there were drones being used on the southern border or the northern border. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was on the northern border. And they were being used for drug trade up on the northern border. And people went ballistic. They went crazy. And it was on the border looking for drug people. We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't use drones. I remember just shaking my head thinking, oh, we will. You won't have a problem with it. And here we are.